Welcome to this week's live ASX strategy session. Thanks for joining me. Really good to have you with me today. I think we've got a pretty interesting show in store. A few things going on in the commodity space with gold hitting new all-time highs. There's a few other commodities building away. And of course, I've got lots of stuff going in the stock market. I've got a couple of stocks I want to tell you about a bit later on as well. As always, everything today is a general commentary only, doesn't take your personal situation into account. Been through all that, I think it's time we get straight into our charts for the week. So let's start off with the ASX 200. And the last couple of weeks have really all been about consolidation. You just see the market just tracking sideways in this. It's becoming a bit of a compression band as the market's moving sideways, letting this 50-day moving average catch up. And we had the all-time high just before Easter, and since then, as I say, it's been that backing and filling we've seen as the market's trundled sideways. On balance, I think the overall price action remains positive. The ASX 200 continues to build, continues to hold above the 50-day moving average, also the 100-day moving average below that. Prices aren't stretched by any means above these averages. If anything, this pause has allowed the averages to catch up. So not like we saw back in December where the market got quite elevated or quite stretched above the moving average, and then we had that pullback. Not so much the setup at the moment. So I think from that standpoint, there are no red flags that really jump out and say we should be getting concerned at this point. There's often concern, I think, when prices pull back from these all-time highs, and people worry that, look, this is the start of, they worry that this may be the start of a bigger decline. But often what we find is these pullbacks along the way are just part of that routine sequence of pullbacks and consolidations that occur during every rising trend. Now, I'm going to talk about this a bit more detail in the US video about the pullbacks and the tendency for them to happen during the year. Go into a bit more detail in the US video, which I'll put out on Saturday morning. So make sure you have a look out for that. But just on the ASX 200 at this stage, the underlying trend, it does remain in place. It does remain to the upside. So my focus right now with my own portfolio, it really is about staying in stocks that have done well. I don't want to get knocked out of profitable positions on what could just be another one of these routine pullbacks. Now, sure, this could develop into something larger, but at this stage, I'm working on the basis that it's just another one of those routine pullbacks. So that's why my focus is not getting knocked out of my profitable positions. And I think this is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with that really catches them out. And that's, rather than letting their profitable trades run or trying to see off what are just these consolidations we get along the way, rather than doing that, they start worrying that every peak is going to be like the and underlined, going to be the top, and the market's about to really start tumbling lower. And what that ends up doing, they end up scaring themselves out of the market, selling too early. Now, as you've heard me say many times, I think the play here is to just, it's to stay along the market, but also making sure you're managing your risk. So this last 5.5 months, it really has been an outstanding upward move we've had in prices. Like, you look at what we've had to deal with in the 2 years prior, and now we've got this really strong, consistent upward trend. And it's also resulted in really good trends across a lot of stocks. But at some point, the ASX 200 will have one of those larger pullbacks. It's just the way the market is. At some point, we will get that larger pullback. Rather than trying to preempt it, though, rather than trying to predict it, foresee it, say, okay, we're now the top's now in. We should, or the top will be in soon. We should do this or we should do that. I think the strategy, as I tell you so often, it's using those wide trailing stops. And I think the strength of this approach is that it covers three scenarios. So the three scenarios it covers, firstly, it keeps you in. Should this trend just continue moving upwards? Say we stabilize above the 50-day moving average, it keeps moving upwards. Well, the wide trailing stop, it keeps you in, and you keep your winning positions. If this consolidation just continues to grind for several more weeks, maybe longer, there's every chance a wide trailing stop will keep you in, so that if prices do then later on in a few months' time turn higher, hopefully those profitable positions are still in place. But it can also get you out when one of these pullbacks turns into something else and starts to fall away. You got that escape route. Should a minor pullback turn into something larger? So that's why I keep saying I think the play is using those wide trailing stops, trying to stay with the trend rather than trying to preempt the top. So overall, I think for now we need to say we should say the trend is up, but as always, keep an eye on that risk, especially after strong periods. And no doubt the last 5.5 months has been an exceptionally strong period. Now, if you're getting some value from this, please hit that like button. Please leave us your comment. Just thanks for the video. Because what it does, it sends YouTube the message that people are interested in what I'm saying, and then YouTube will show the people. That helps me heaps. Please do that. Now, we're going to move on to the small ordinaries, the emerging companies index, which I really want to talk about. We've got the commodities and two stocks I want to show you, which I think are pretty interesting at the moment. But of course, that wraps up the free section. So if you're not a strategy session member, there's a link below. Click that, come over. It's really inexpensive, and I think you're going to get some ideas which will hopefully pay for the service many times over. So think about doing that if you're not a strategy session member. Okay, now let's jump over to the small ordinaries.